Hi, I'm Radical Coder. This is Umbreon. And real quick, before we dive in, if you want to make sure this little dude stays fed and warm, drop a like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments what I got right, what I got wrong, or what you want to argue about. Let's go. So let's start here. Being undocumented does not mean being unprotected. This isn't some legal dead zone where the Constitution just evaporates because you crossed a line on a map. Fifth Amendment doesn't say citizens, it says persons. That means if you're a human being on US soil, regardless of your immigration status, you are protected by due process, period. Don't take my word for it, take it from the Supreme Court. In Yamataya v. Fisher, way back in 1903, they ruled that even undocumented immigrants facing deportation still have the right to be notified, to be heard, to have their case considered. Not full civil trial rights, no, but not zero either. Amina crosses that border, she's still a person, she still has rights, that's not up for debate. Now let's rewind to 1798. John Adams is president, the US is squabbling with France, and Congress passes the Alien Enemies Act. It says the president can deport citizens of enemy nations during a declared war. That's a pretty specific use case. Foreign nationals, wartime, state-to-state conflict. Now flash forward to 2025, and Trump brings it back. Only this time, he's not talking about nations. He's saying certain gangs from Venezuela are basically invading America, and that makes them fair game under the Alien Enemies Act. No war was declared, no governments involved, just criminal networks. So now we're stretching 18th century wartime law to cover alleged gang members. That's not just a legal gray area, it's a full-on acrobatic leap. And judges noticed. Deportation started, bypassing hearings, but the court stepped in. Why? Because gangs aren't governments, and you don't get to skip due process just by yelling national security. Now let's talk about the part of US history that we'd all like to pretend didn't happen, but legally we kind of haven't. Meet Fred Korematsu. In 1944, he refused to comply with the US government's order to enter an internment camp. His crime? Being a Japanese American during World War II. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they upheld it. They said, yeah, locking up 120,000 people based on ancestry, no individual hearing, no specific charges, that was cool under wartime executive power. It's one of the most widely condemned rulings in American legal history, and yet, here's the kicker, it has never been formally overturned. In 2018, during Trump v. Hawaii, Chief Justice Roberts said it was wrong, quote, gravely wrong the day it was decided. But saying it was wrong isn't the same as erasing it. So legally, it still exists, like a ghost in the system, a precedent with no heartbeat, but still casting a shadow. Now, why does that matter? Well, if a future administration, say one that's already experimenting with mass deportation under warped readings of ancient laws, wants to bring back Korematsu-style logic, it's still technically sitting there on the shelf waiting to be cited. And that's why this slide, this entire presentation, isn't just about immigration law. It's about the structures that we leave behind and what they can still be used to justify. So look, this isn't about left or right. It's about the rule of law versus the rule of power. The Constitution says persons, not citizens, and that's on purpose. If we start letting fear or politics decide who deserves rights, we're not just rewriting the law, we're gutting the whole idea of justice. 1798 laws, 1944 internment, 2025 deportation flights. Those aren't dusty artifacts, they're tools still sitting on the table. And whether they get used again, that's up to us. So if you learned something here or this hit you, share it. Drop a comment if you agree, or especially if you don't. I want to hear why. Make sure you subscribe, support, or send it to someone who needs a wake-up call. Because when rights become optional, power becomes law. And I'm not down for that. Are you? I'm Radical Coder. This is Umbreon. He just peed on his rope toy. We're here to remind you that learning is radical.
In my club, swimming good love, it was you at the club, it's your touch. Going in, baby, what's up? Nothing feels right, so let's mess up everything.